Hey, we're going to be watching whatever PS6 is. I just hope it's a PlayStation.
The best thing to come out of all the recent chat about the future of living room game boxes isn't Project Helix.
Why not? Why not Project Helix?
It's this. No, not the Steam machine itself.
It looks like the Steam machine, my boy. That's what we've been looking at.
In terms of its viability, but this specific shot of it with the wooden faceplate. Look at that. It's gorgeous. It's like Magnavox designed the GameCube. It's a sensory blast of nostalgia, like skull ashtrays in a flat roof pub, white dog except you can run Cyberpunk on it. It's just a changeable faceplate, but showing off this throwback design was, I think, and perhaps unwittingly, the opening salvo of the next console war, for lack of a better term. Why? Here's why. I can't use that. That's someone else's thing.
Let PS6 be a PlayStation.
As this most damp squib of a console gen starts wrapping up before it ever really got going, PlayStation and Xbox both find themselves hurtling toward an existential cliff edge. The console business is stagnant, possibly even contracting, as up-and-coming generations Z, Alpha, and future survivors of the AI apocalypse simply don't have any lingering affection for these brands or the kinds of games they specialize in.
Interesting.
You see, the problem is that Roblox runs on their phones, and kids are about as discerning about their entertainment as the average middle-aged man is about garage flowers on February the 13th.
Oh, yeah,
and
of course.
It's the middle-aged who are, therefore, the big but ever-diminishing cow whose milking sustains the home console business. The point is that people like me, and statistically people watching this are a big, shrinking bovine whose wages aren't going up in line with the prospect of perhaps having to spend $1,000 just to play Uncharted 5, which is an even worse proposition when you consider that they're not even making Uncharted 5. It's not even on the cards.
But we don't know if they are.
It is for PS5
but, they got Fortnite
to not have its
and
own Uncharted. Like, imagine Sega spent an entire console generation not bothering to bring out
does
Sonic.
Fortnite get all this, like,
that did happen, and funnily enough,
do they get the rights to put it in? Like, they must have right to play those characters in the game.
The very concept of consoles has been in a dire state ever since both Sony and Microsoft started putting their signature games on other platforms. A strategy which we all had a collective madness about until recently, thinking, well, okay, sure, it makes sense to reach beyond the install base of a console to give your very expensive to produce game every chance to make a return, especially if you're Xbox and your install base is about the same size as the Barcode Battlers. Nobody remember the Barcode Battler? No? Just me? Okay, moving on. Sadly, the grand experiment of exclusiveless consoles has been a bit of a disaster. On the Sony side, it has noticeably cannibalized software and hardware sales while opening up the firm to a lot of PR grief over its decision to force PC players
I feel like PlayStation and Xbox should do what Nintendo does.
Part of a deadly
you know, I mean, obviously they have a portable console, but I mean, like the Switch, like, you know, you put it onto a dock and a console at the same time. Same thing with the Steam Deck, even though we're getting the Steam machine as well.
So it's all a bit of a mess, but there are glimmers of hope. Sony recently pulled back from releasing future PC ports, with Ghost of Yotei no longer slated for a Steam release. And with the unceremonious exit of Sarah Bond from Xbox, long known to be the architect of the Everything is an Xbox campaign that many considered a final nail in the coffin of Microsoft's 20-year attempt to break Sony's dominance of second place in the games market, it seems as though the console, as we once knew it, might be primed for a comeback. A device for playing games on primarily in the living room, yes, but crucially, the only place to play some of the best games available, as it should be. As, I would argue, it needs to be in order to survive as a concept. Dissolving the traditional barriers for entry to the PlayStation and Xbox's homegrown stuff may well have pushed a lineup on a chart somewhere temporarily, but it has done so at the cost of the console's prestige, its very soul. The PlayStation shouldn't just be one possible content distribution node in a platform-agnostic continuum. It should be the PlayStation, an experience, a feeling, an identity, a lifestyle, something that inspires fierce loyalty, something that does things only a PlayStation can do. And that may seem silly and anachronistic in a world where we all
honestly, man, I feel like everything is the same, like no matter what, you know, it's just different.
Redundant, but
console, it does little things just better than it does, and, you know, it's just always the same things going on.
It makes sense. When you've never known a world without the smartphone, the idea of a device that only does one specific thing must seem quaint, counterintuitive, and possibly, maybe even exciting. I can speak to this a little bit. It probably won't surprise you to learn that I still buy albums on CD because I'm a decrepit old. But it might surprise you to learn that they're all for my K-pop obsessed teenage daughters, and that I haven't bought a physical album for myself since the days of, I don't know, Napster. As I have come to learn to my wallet's deep dismay, South Korea still goes mad for CDs, physical discs. Albums aren't just music distribution, they're an event. They're collectible. They come in multiple editions with lavishly produced coffee table books of guys posing suggestively. I haven't owned a CD player probably since the 90s. I didn't even know you could still buy them. I haven't owned a CD player since like the 2000s. My 13-year-old has one, but they're really tiny and built into Bluetooth speakers now. It's like walking into a Little Putley and Dixon's. And as an aside, let me tell you something. The teenage girls of today, and possibly ever, are more serious about their music than any lad in the 90s with a subscription to the Melody Maker ever was. I'll guarantee you that none of those guys were as devoted to, I don't know, Mercury Rev as your average K-pop fangirl is to Stray Kids. But look, whether it's a genuine phenomenon or marketing hype, the trendy notion of digital detoxing or going analog is highly relatable in a way
those cameras are
exhausting interconnectivity. Retro gaming
the red room
counts as a form of this. It's on that sort of spectrum for the same reason that many are swapping their smartphones for feature phones or dumb phones. Retro gaming is attractive to those willing to log off because of its relative simplicity. Until around the turn of the century, a games console had one job: to run the game you put in it. And when you bought that game, you owned that game. It didn't needle you with microtransactions and DLC add-ons or shit broken with the promise of an incoming hotfix for the game-breaking bugs. It just existed. There are exceptions to everything I just said, but please don't list them in the comments. We'll be here all day.
Zelda Link's Awakening from Nintendo.
It was the simplest of propositions. You want to play a Nintendo game? You gotta go buy a Nintendo. You want to play a PlayStation game? Go and buy a PlayStation. And it's the most naturally intuitive because, let's be honest, multifunction devices and multi-platform cross-pollination are the aberration here. Until extremely recently, a TV was a thing for watching TV on. A computer was a thing you did computer stuff on. A phone was a thing you used to make noises at people who weren't in your house. Your Switch 2 needs a Netflix app about as much as your car needs a toast rack. It may seem impossible for the traditional platform holders to win the hearts and minds of a demographic who have grown up in a market where video games are just one of several very throwaway activities that your phone provides. But in a world where the single function device is rapidly taking on the prestige of something almost noble and ancient, a relic from a more civilized age, then console makers should consider that prestige as their hook, as a core part of the appeal. Consider the tactile sensation of choosing a vinyl album, blowing on it, slotting it onto the turntable, and the ritual of booting up your PlayStation to enjoy one of its exclusives, the inviting startup beep, the sumptuous logo chimes, the innate knowledge that this machine has been purpose-built for the artistic, playful activity at hand and isn't something fundamentally designed for improving an office worker's productivity that just happens to do games as a party trick. I'm sorry, but it's true. I don't know where it's all heading, but what I can say with some confidence is that if the next generation of consoles are all bespoke variants of Steam Machine, which, given the recent Project Helix news, there's a non-zero chance of this being the case, then console gaming will truly be over. This isn't about physical.
I would like them to put like 1 terabyte in their freaking hard drive, so, or even actually probably 5 actually. Especially when you spend all this money on it, you know.
Beyond a badge,
they should really give you more memory.
No prestige. The console has nothing, and I think, frankly, some things are worth keeping behind a drawbridge to protect. AAA gaming shouldn't be Spotify. It should be sliding Dreams by Fleetwood Mac out of its gatefold case, the crackle and hiss of an engaged needle deftly lining up with the groove, the smug sophistication of being a smart consumer who can appreciate every note of a single album without needing the algo to feed them an endless playlist of other stuff. That's what prestige
that's true too.
Console gaming needs to be.
But I like the majority of games that that they give you the play and stuff, like,
And if there is a way for platform holders of next gen to siphon off the same magic that makes a 19-year-old,
I really love the PlayStation controllers a lot more than the Xbox controllers, but I like both of them honestly, and I like the Pro controllers for Nintendo as well. But I prefer the PlayStation though more. I just like it how it feels in my hands.
And frankly, they shouldn't try. Being the best or even the most convenient place to play a Steam game is a moving target that they'll never hit. Being the only place to play a PlayStation game should, however, be a slam dunk for PlayStation. But what do you think? You might think I'm talking rubbish. You might think that exclusives are actually anti-consumer and the best possible future is one where consoles are more or less just apps or storefronts, sometimes running on bespoke hardware but not necessarily having to. By all means, sound off, but whatever you do, remember to like and subscribe and stick with IGN.
Alright, I'm going to leave it there, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed, and yeah, it'd be nice to have a PS6, but I would like all of them to do what Nintendo does, and I probably would buy it, if it was like that, but if it's just going to be like PC gaming and stuff, I'd rather just stick with the Steam machine, the Steam Deck, and also the Switch. Anyway, I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, everyone.